The flat foot squat, right? I've made a few videos on this and they've done quite well, but something I've never gone over specifically is the barriers you may have around doing the flat foot squat and how to get around them. So I get a lot of comments on my previous videos on how to actually perform the flat foot squat or the deep squat or the resting squat as it's also known as. And I answer a lot of the comments in the comment section, but to make a video on it may help out a lot of you there. So I'm basically going to break down how to do it and all the barriers you may face if you have some tight muscles or you're not as flexible. So let's dive right in. So the first thing is first, and that is actually doing the flat foot squat. So when I want you to go down into it now, right, I want you to stand up with your feet flat on the floor. And all you're doing is you're pushing the hips back as you're bending the knees, keeping the weight fairly evenly distributed in the legs there, in the feet, but putting a bit more weight in the heels there to allow you to come all the way down. And ideally, you'll be on, your feet, the flat foot squat. But the first issue I want to talk about is not even being able to come down this far, right? So your feet are flat on the floor, but you get to around here and you can't really make it down without then coming off. Now, when we're doing the flat foot squat, you can see my whole posterior chain is involved. The posterior chain are all the muscles on the back of my body. So we're talking about all the way down the back there, the glutes, the hamstrings here, the calves, and then even the Achilles here, the actual tendon. If they're all tight, then there's no chance of me getting into this flat foot squat. So, if you have quite a tight kind of lower back, upper back and glutes and hamstrings, very typical for sitting on a chair all day. You're on an office chair and you can see all down here, my posterior chain is quite short compared to if I was in a flat foot squat here, right? You can see the whole thing's lengthened. But if I'm sat down all day like this, then it's quite short. What that actually does is your muscles in your body want to adapt in the most energy efficient way possible. And if you're not kind of stretching out and using that extended range of motion, your body's not going to keep it. It's going to want to adapt to what it does the most, therefore sitting on a chair. So you may just have some tight muscles in your lower back. Or in your glutes or in your hamstrings. The first stretch you can do is just a very simple hamstring stretch, right? And that will literally be being sat on the floor, having a leg out, knee straight, make sure there's no bend in the knee, and very gently just leaning forwards and just stretching. Nice and easy there, right? Nothing too strenuous. You want to try and keep the back as straight as you can there. If you round the back, then you won't be getting much stretch in the lower back there. So just nice and steady. Just like that, nice and easy, nothing too strenuous, just stretching, and you can do this on each side. And you can even do this sat down if you wanted to. You can be in your chair, or you can even be stood up. Let's say we go on the chair, shuffle yourself towards the end, leg out straight, and all you're doing here is just leaning forward. Very simple. Now, while that stretch was great for the hamstrings, we're going to now target the lower and mid back by doing a Jefferson curl. We're going to need a step for this, and that is literally it, just one step. So for this next one, I'm needing the GoPro, so excuse the the fisheye lens there. So all you need for this one is a step, and as you progress, you may choose to use a weight for some assisted stretch, an additional stretch on there, but all this is basically sectioning the spine to increase mobility throughout the whole spine. So we're getting a spinal wave essentially, right? Nice and simple, easily done. So all I'm going to do is start by standing on the edge of the step here, right? My legs are straight. And now all I'm doing is I'm going to tip my head down and then my chest and then my lower back and basically create a spinal wave. So if I angle this up a tiny bit more, from here I'm standing, I'm nice and tall, tipping my head down, then I'm almost pushing my upper chest in, bending there towards the sternum and basically imagine someone's pulling a rope from my forehead down. And now I'm coming through, I'm rounding my mid back onto my lower back. My legs still stay straight, right? My arms are outstretched in front of me. All the way down, legs are still straight. Nice and steady all the way. So now my lower back's rounded. And on the way back up, we just reverse that. So I start by straightening out my lower back. Then my mid back straightens. Then my upper back. And then the top of my head, just like that. And what this does is it creates a spinal wave. And obviously when we move the spine, all of the muscles which are related to the spine, the way that it stabilizes the spine and helps it flex and bend, they're all stretched as well. So it's great for stretching the lower and mid back there, as well as the hamstrings, right? Now, moving on to the next issue. With the flat foot squat, this is the most common issue, and it's tight calves and tight Achilles. So let's move on with that. So there we are, the spinal wave. Now, if that was the issue and you've built that up over time, and now your mid and lower back and kind of glutes are a lot more flexible along with your hamstrings, going into the flat foot squat should be completely fine. You go all the way down, you get to here, and you've got that added mobility there so you can get around into the flat foot squat. However, and let me pop this down a tiny bit more once again. However, if you go into the flat foot squat and you're going down and down and down, but then the heels come off, there is an additional issue, right? On top of this, if you're in the flat foot squat and you get a really big kind of burning feeling in the front of your shins, this is also the exact same issue as in that if you can't get a complete flat foot squat if the heels are off the floor. And there are ways to deal with this. So let me tell you exactly what it is and how we deal with that. So something we have to remember, especially when looking at the calf, is that all muscles do, their only role is to pull, right? And muscles attach onto bones by tendons, right? This soft connective tissue made of collagen. So if our Achilles or our kind of calf is quite tight, right? It's pulling too much. So it's not allowing us to stretch all the way out. And if it's pulling too much, look what happens. If this is pulling, right, that lifts my heel up. If it's too tight, as soon as I go into an extended range of motion, because it's too tight, my heels are up. Additionally, if I'm in that flat foot squat and these are tight here, it's because I'm trying to pull my toes up. The opposite of what the calf is doing. The calf is actively trying to pull the heel up. So because you're using muscles to pull the toes up, it's because this again is too tight. If it was looser, then you could passively sit in this position. But because you're feeling it in the tibialis, in the shin there, the muscle in the shin, it's because this is too tight, right? Now, if we are to quickly look at the calf right here, I'll show you mine. So, the calf is here, right? That's the muscle there. There are two muscles, the soleus and the gastrocnemius, right? But you don't really need to know these. They're not too important here. So looking at the calf, right, you can see the muscles here, and you always see this kind of big, thick tendon. That's the Achilles, right? But you all know this from like the Achilles heel story. To stretch out this muscle, again, because it attaches onto the Achilles and it's kind of pulling the heel up there, what we need to do is we need to pull the toes up in a stretch, basically, to lengthen the muscle out and build a bit more mobility in the Achilles there and in the calf. And we do that, one of my favorite methods is number one, the wobble board, and number two, just again a stair. You can do these at home, they're great exercises. So let's get into it firstly by using the wobble board. So this is my wobble board. It's something I bought years and years and years back, and it actually helped me with my ankle. I was doing aerials and I was landing too low, so I actually damaged my ankle, and this massively, like it built it beyond repair. Yeah, my ankles were in the best shape they've ever been in. But basically it's like a semi circle ball shape, inflatable, and all I typically do on this is depth calf raises, same as what we'll do on the stairs. So pretty much there's a ball, I'm standing on it, my toes or the balls of my feet are in the middle, and this allows me, this is neutral, right? My feet are flat. Stepping on the edge here allows me now to get a good stretch. My heels are now below my toes, meaning I'm stretching the calves there and the Achilles tendon, and that's a stretch. If we want to get mobility work, we want to build strength through that range of motion. So all we do now is we push back up and we do a calf raise and then back down again. If you struggle to balance, do it by a wall, or just do one foot and have the other foot on the floor assisting. Might be a bit more advanced, this variation, but it works incredibly. And you can do the exact same on the other side there, right? Just like that. Nice and easy. And I can feel the stretch myself in the calf there. And you can imagine, because I'm now, see how much my toes are lifted? If I build this range of motion, look, it's the exact same motion if you look at the ankles as this. It's the exact same thing because we're actively stretching those Achilles there. Now, if I take it to the stair, you'll see it's the exact same thing, right? Check this out. In a neutral position, heels nice and low, deep stretch there, I feel that, and I push all the way back through, all the way down again, and straight back up. If that's too easy, we can just go 1 foot, all the way down, straight back up, nice and strong. And do that on both sides, and that's building mobility in the ankle there. Simple. And that is literally it. There's no special thing about this. It's just stretching the posterior chain. And all we've literally done there is we've looked at the movement and gone, right, why is this happening? Why is X, Y, and Z happening? And these were very common comments left on my video comparing, the flat foot squat to normal seats, sat on a chair. So all we've done is we've looked at why it's happening, what muscles are causing the things to happen. So for example, the heels raising or the tibialis burning when you're in the flat foot squat, and go, right, what can we do with those muscles to add mobility? Well, we just do stretches and mobility work. It's very simple. So if you do hamstring stretches, Jefferson curls, and then on top of that, calf raises with depth, you will massively benefit your flat foot squat from this, and you'll without a doubt learn that is literally the only limiting factor that was stopping you. And that is it, honestly. If you enjoyed this video, please do give it a like. Leave any comments if you've got any other issues that I didn't cover there. But when it comes to balance, burning in the tibialis, not being able to go down, heels raising, it's literally just a tight posterior chain. You sort that out, it's so much better, trust me. But yeah, apart from that, I will leave you with it. Please share this to anyone who's struggled with getting the flat foot squat in the past. And yeah, until next time, have a lovely rest of your day. Later.